4 Meji YouTube video K Lia Oper Jo Tum NY Story Lik KDHS K Oper Time En Strong Hook Lik K Do. Hook Jandar. Suspenseful Our Curiosity Sai Bar Por Hona Chaye K Mary Veur Engage Ho JN Our Video Co and a cup of tea sat steaming on the wooden table. The room smelled faintly of old paper and damp wood. She reached out, feeling the warmth radiate through her fingers. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows. The tea looked ordinary, golden and calm, but a chill ran down her spine. She lifted the cup to her lips, hesitating for a moment. A strange bitterness hit her tongue, unlike anything she had tasted before. The lights flickered, and shadows stretched across the walls. She swallowed, trying to shake off the sudden nausea. A whisper of movement came from the corner of the room, slow and deliberate. Her heart thudded in her chest as she glanced toward the darkness. Nothing appeared, yet the air grew heavier, almost suffocating. The steam from the tea curled upward, twisting into shapes that seemed almost alive. A soft, cold voice echoed in her ear, though no one was near. She dropped the cup, shattering porcelain across the floor. The liquid seeped into the cracks, spreading like a living thing. A sudden realization struck her, eyes wide and frozen. She was not alone. Deccan, her pulse raced as she pressed herself against the wall, listening to the uneven rhythm of her own breathing. The room seemed to shrink, shadows crawling along the corners like liquid darkness. The faint smell of tea had turned bitter in her nose, curling into something sharp, almost metallic. She could feel her fingers trembling, and yet the memory of that first sip lingered, a terrible curiosity she could not shake. Every instinct screamed to run, but her legs felt rooted, as if the floor itself had swallowed them. The whisper returned, softer this time, almost playful, winding around her ears like smoke. She tilted her head, straining to hear the words, but they twisted into silence the moment she tried to focus. Her eyes darted across the room. The corners, once dull, now shimmered with movement, tiny flickers like insect wings. The table, broken into pieces, seemed to throb slightly under the spilled tea. It was not just liquid now, it pulsed, spreading along the floor in patterns that made her stomach churn. She wanted to step back, but the shadows seemed to reach for her feet, curling upward in thin, grasping fingers of darkness. A low humming began, vibrating in the walls, rising in pitch and intensity, pressing against her skull. Her hands shot to her ears, but the sound grew louder, like hundreds of voices murmuring together, speaking a language she could almost understand. Something moved in the far corner, and she froze. It was not a person. It was taller, impossibly thin, its shape stretching toward the ceiling, bending in angles that defied reason. Its outline shimmered as if seen through rippling water, and yet it leaned toward her with deliberate intent. The tea's scent had changed completely. It was no longer bitter, it was pungent, rich, and almost alive, curling around her nose and throat. She gagged, pressing a sleeve to her mouth, and stumbled backward into a chair. The humming became a chant, slow and deliberate. She could feel vibrations in her chest. The shadow twisted and unfolded, moving with a fluid grace that made her skin crawl. She wanted to scream.